What's going on? You're in the Beat Sessions, the place for all things music, and where we do the listening for you. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds and this new record, Council Skies. He released that on June 2nd. This is his fourth solo outing and his follow up to 2017's Who Built the Moon. A cool record. Honestly, before I get started with this, I just want to argue that I think since the breakup of Oasis, both the Gallagher brothers have killed it with their solo careers. Really dig the music that both of them are putting out independently. And Who Built the Moon? That record, it's like a psychedelic electro pop glam rock experience. Definitely felt outside of Noel Gallagher's wheelhouse. I thought it was a super fun record, and if you haven't checked it out, would recommend it. The one criticism that I heard from quite a few people, and I definitely get it, the production on that record, just the energy of it. It's loud, in your face. It comes at you 100 miles an hour. A lot of it reminded me of Be Here Now, that Oasis record. I believe that came out back in like 1997. Great record, really long though. Who Built the Moon is certainly not that long. But I think the thing that happens when you go for such a big sound is that you lose nuance, and that's a guy like Noel. He's a great songwriter. This new record, Council Skies, is a perfect example of a bunch of fun instrumentation working in, and the production allowing all of these elements to kind of do their thing, play their role, whether it's to be the highlight, whether it's to kind of fill out and just be there in like a supportive effort. You're getting that on this record. So I would say that was the one thing about Who Built the Moon that kind of bummed me out. And I think it's important to bring up because Council Skies having that different feel. This record has a mood. Call it Noel's COVID record, if you will. The record came together during that time. I love that he teamed up with Paul Stacey on this thing. There's all these elements, him being by himself during COVID, lockdown, and writing songs just in his bedroom with his acoustic guitar. There's so much about this record that kind of has that feeling of familiarity in a good way. And after 6 years, I like that. I like the return to something that feels a little more grounded in just that signature sound that Noel and, with the help of his brother and his other bandmates as well from Oasis developed, for the last, it feels like almost 30 years now. So it's a super fun record. I like the, talk about the mood, the mystique of this record. It's got kind of like a film noir feel to it in a lot of ways. Makes me think of Turn the Page by Bob Seger or, Bon Jovi working with Wanted Dead or Alive, kind of building off of that vibe, but kind of that just like moody outlaw, just like detective underneath a lamp in the foggy streets kind of vibe to it. It's pretty cool. I love him working with Johnny Marr as much as he does. Johnny showing up on 3 songs on this record. It's great to have his presence, and you can feel him stylistically too on songs, which I think is a nice part of a nice aspect of this album. I'd say like my one criticism of this thing, if you follow the channel, this always bums me out. You've basically been able to listen to pieces of this record for about 8 months now. I think the first single came out in October of last year. So it's I find it disappointing at this point. Half of the record has been released as singles. And when you go to listen to an album in its entirety, if you've chosen to listen to those songs, I just feel that you lose the energy that goes along with that element of surprise. It's just like every song being like, ooh, ah, ah. You listen to half the songs already and you throw up the track list while you're checking out the gatefold. And it's just, what's coming, what to expect. And I think that kind of ruins the experience, but this is still a really good record. I would say I didn't listen to any of the singles, so I'm glad I kept this experience self-contained. It's great if you did. If not, I still think the other 5 tracks are worth checking out because this is a marvelous album. I'm Not Giving Up Tonight is your opening song. Mellow, low, hi-fi acoustic, drum and vocal intro on this thing. I really like the way the vocal enters, and this song, it keeps this feel, that mellow feel that it opens with for the verse. Chorus fills out a bit. One of my favorite things about this song, talk about those nuances, really pretty string arrangement that fills in. It's got this prominent Eastern feel to it. I like the way that the bass kind of takes over on this track a little bit as well. Really catchy opener, but just again, that nice, just establishing that mood, establishing the vibe and feel that this record is going to hold for 10 tracks. Pretty Boy is your second song. Johnny Marr showing up on this. Soft electric percussion builds. It builds in and carries this track. I really like the vocal and acoustic elements on this thing. Got that kind of like driving post-punk feel. Definitely working in the bass. And I like the way that the full instrumentation works in and out on the song. It's a great track. Dead to the World is your third song. It's kind of a dark track as far as that, that title. Noel talks about how, maybe prior to COVID, he wouldn't have taken on a song like this. But he also mentions how as he's gotten older, there's like he's more inclined to write about these kind of darker, more frustrating experiences because there's catharsis there. And also, it's a fine line to walk, but if you talk about something in the right way, your audience, that's, if they've gone through that, if they've experienced it, like we all experienced COVID, that can resonate. I think that, it's something that's been fascinating to look at for the last 3 years as far as the way artists have made music and how they've chosen to convey those emotions and those feelings, whether it's like totally direct, which I think is not a great way to approach the creation of a record. It becomes ephemeral at that point, and no one wants to go back and remember COVID. But I think that a record like this is so strong because the themes, they're universal, they resonate. It's really nicely done on Noel's end. Open the Door to See the World, excuse me, Dead to the Light. We'll get to, it's got this light, moody acoustic vocal intro. The harmonies that enter on this thing are great. Another great string arrangement with this classic pop feel. What I love about this song, there's this accordion element. It enters out of nowhere. It's definitely the highlight of the track. Marvelous component of this song. Open the Door, See What You Find, your fourth song. Johnny's back on this thing. Drum intro ushers in this breezy acoustic rock. Another nice string arrangement hits to act as this bridge. It's really a cool element of the song. Chorus fills out. You get these galloping drums that finish with strings, big melody. Again, working with that Eastern influence, I think it's a really pretty thing that's prominent on this record. Trying to Find a World That's Been and Gone, Part 1 is your fifth song. Soft atmospheric washes introduce this simple acoustic riff. I really like the way that it moves in and out. Strings hit about 1:45 as we try to find a world that's been and gone. It's just, it's like, I love that line. I love the sentiment there. I know that there's this part of it where it's like, no, that that time is gone. Like, all this stuff has happened, and there's no one doing it. So there's always that element of it, but it's also, I think it's getting back to just the fundamental things as far as community and the way that social media has divided us and the way that we're just so willing to pick fights with each other on that shit, pardon me. But I think that, trying to find a world that's been and gone, I think there's a positive sentiment there of just trying to get back to the fundamental basics of what it means to be human. We don't need AI. We don't need all of this. It's unnecessary. And frankly, it takes away our general purpose to live, which is why I'd argue that so many people are losing their freaking minds, is because, they don't have these daily tasks of providing for themselves, of essentially surviving. They get to wake up and doom scroll, and it's no way to go through life depressed with no skill set. I'm just going to throw that out there. Easy Now, it's going to open your B side. It's got this organ that builds in with this acoustic guitar and vocal. Got this electric guitar that builds in behind to usher the bass and drums on this thing. Nice big harmony in the backing of this track. Nice B side opener. Council Skies, your seventh song. Probably my favorite. This is going to be the third and final song that Johnny shows up on. I like the aquatic electronics that open this thing up, breezy acoustics and pop percussion. You got this like bossa nova meets breezy 70s Cali rock feel. I love the mood of this song. The strings that evolve are really nice in this track. Definitely a highlight for me. There She Blows is got this kind of like classic Oasis feel. Like, more than all of these tracks on this record, that like the moment it came on, your eighth song, it just it took me back to those boys in the 90s. I really like the quick electric build-in on the acoustic element, and then the bass and drums work in. You got this like, yeah, just that groovy Gallagher feel. I like the swing and the bass riff. Really just this kind of like nice slide that's working in there. Great song. Your penultimate track, Love Is a Rich Man. Big classic kick in the drums to open. Breezy strum guitar with this just kind of like oldie, kind of like mod, think like late 50s, early 60s, just guitar lick that's carrying this thing. It's pretty cool the way that works in and out. The song's going to carry that feel for the most part, but I really like this cool spacey breakdown that you get in the song. It's got this frenzied guitar that is a highlight. Really a fun penultimate song that leads to Think of a Number. Your final track is this breezy post-punk song. Big presence from the bass on this thing. Loving that. Chorus has a lighter melody. There's more texture that works in as the song progresses. You get this kind of like gothic style piano that works in. It's a bit moody, kind of reminds me of The Cure a bit. But I love the way that this thing it mellows out in the middle. It's got like a really cool dynamic there, and then closes nicely to finish what is a damn solid record. I'm really just continue to be so pleased with all the solo projects that Noel and Liam put out. Maybe they get back together and, make another Oasis record. I think it might be pretty cool. But in the meantime, check this stuff out. It is worth your time. Big vinyl, please, on Council Skies. Hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help us blow this project up in 2023. Stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.